In the desolate expanse of the American West, where the horizon seemed to stretch endlessly, and the sun burned fierce in the sky, a lone cowboy named Caleb was riding through the rugged terrain. Dust kicked up from his horse's hooves danced in the midday heat, swirling around him like the memories of a turbulent past. Solitude was a frequent companion of Caleb's, but today an unexpected detour would change everything. As he crested a ridge, the sight of a small campfire flickering below caught his eye. Curiosity piqued, Caleb guided his horse down the rocky slope towards the warmth. The flicker of flames danced in front of him, casting shadows against the tall pines. A stranger sat there, his back turned, the low crackles of the fire providing a comforting backdrop to the quiet of the wild. "Mind if I share your fire?" Caleb called, his voice carrying across the open space. The figure at the fire turned. It was a man, rugged and weathered, with a face that told tales of hardship and resilience. He nodded, inviting Caleb to join him. As Caleb dismounted and settled by the flickering flames, he felt a strange connection to this man, despite the lack of words exchanged. The fire crackled and the aroma of coffee filled the air. Caleb produced a small ration of jerky from his bag, sharing it with the stranger. They sat in companionable silence for a while, sipping coffee and gazing into the flames, both lost in their thoughts. Caleb's eyes wandered across the stranger's belongings, and that's when he noticed it, a necklace hanging from the man's neck, a silver pendant with intricate designs, glinting subtly in the firelight. His heart dropped as a wave of recognition washed over him. It belonged to a woman he had thought dead for years, a woman from the Apache tribe, whose life had forever changed his own. Her name was Ayanna. Caleb's heart raced as he recalled their moments together, laughter shared under the vast sky, and the sorrow that had enveloped him when she had vanished. The last he heard, she had been taken by a rival tribe. The grief had haunted him ever since. The sight of that necklace ignited a flame of hope that he thought extinguished. "Where did you get that?" Caleb asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The stranger's brow furrowed slightly. "You recognize it?" Caleb swallowed hard, the memory flooding back. Ayanna, brave and fierce, with a smile bright enough to light the darkest of days. He recalled the tales her father had told, stories of their people and the rich culture that thrived under the sun. "It belonged to someone I knew," Caleb admitted, his voice almost a whisper. "Ayanna. She was someone important to me." The stranger studied Caleb closely, as if weighing the words carefully. "Ayanna is alive," he finally said. "She survived and fought through the hardships. She's still out there, following her path. But much has changed since you last saw her." The weight of the realization settled heavily on Caleb's chest. Ayanna was alive. The thought filled him with a mixture of joy and concern. What had she endured? Would she recognize him? Could she forgive him for the choices he had made? The stranger continued, his gaze shifting to the flames. "But it is not easy out here. Her journey has been filled with challenges, and she leads a band of her people who have faced the wrath of many enemies. They've been fighting for their homelands and their right to exist in a world filled with darkness." Caleb could feel the tension in the air, the weight of unanswered questions looming between them. "How do you know her?" he asked, caution threading through his voice. "I've traveled with her people, watched as she stood strong in the face of adversity. Her spirit is unyielding, and she fights not just for herself but for everyone who calls the wild their home," the stranger explained, pride evident in his tone. "But she needs help. There are forces that would see her and her people brought low." "What can I do?" Caleb asked, determination rising within him. The bond he had shared with Ayanna had never truly faded from his heart. If she needed him now, he would not hesitate. The stranger smiled, a spark of hope igniting in his eyes. "Join us. Together, we can stand against those who threaten her life. Let us fight for her tribe and secure a future where their cultures can coexist in peace." Uncertainty mixed with excitement coursed through Caleb's veins. This was more than just a chance to reunite with Ayanna. It was an opportunity to right the wrongs of his past. Together, they would forge a path through the wilderness and face whatever dangers lay ahead. As the fire crackled warmly, a camaraderie forming between them, Caleb felt that the journey before him was laden with purpose. He knew that every step was fraught with danger, But the chance to stand beside Ayana once again, to reclaim a love he thought lost forever, was worth the risk. With a resolute nod, he turned towards the stranger. Lead the way. With that, their fates intertwined. Two men united in purpose. The night sky stretched above them, vast and filled with stars, a reminder that hope and bravery could shine fiercely, even in the darkest of times. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the world in hues of orange and pink, Caleb and the stranger, now introduced as Thomas, readied themselves for the journey ahead. They packed their belongings with purposeful haste, both men feeling the urgency of the mission pressing upon them. Each moment lost could mean further danger for Ayana and her people. "This area can be unforgiving," Thomas warned as they mounted their horses. "We'll need to move swiftly and avoid any signs of trouble." Caleb nodded, his heart racing with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. His thoughts were consumed by what lay ahead. The vast wilderness stretched before them, an expanse filled with possibilities and dangers alike. As they rode deeper into the wild, the clatter of hooves echoed in the stillness, accompanied by the rustling of leaves and the whisper of the wind. After several hours, they reached a secluded grove, a safe spot to rest and plan their approach. The sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting dappled shadows on the ground. They dismounted, and while Thomas stretched, Caleb's mind was racing. He tried to focus on what he would say to Ayana, how he would explain his absence, how he would hope to bridge the chasm of time that had stretched between them. "We're getting close to her camp," Thomas said, interrupting Caleb's thoughts. "But we must tread carefully. There are eyes everywhere. She only trusts those who prove themselves loyal." "Loyalty is earned," Caleb said with determination. "I'll show her I'm worth it." Thomas nodded approvingly. "Good. Stay close and follow my lead. The Apache way is built on honor and trust." As they continued, the terrain began to change. The rugged hills transformed into rolling plains dotted with wildflowers. The beauty of the land was breathtaking, but Caleb knew that its serene exterior belied the tensions simmering below. Suddenly a movement caught Caleb's eye, a flicker of something in the underbrush. He halted, alert. Thomas noticed and paused as well, turning to Caleb with a raised eyebrow. "Something's not right," Caleb whispered, scanning the area for any signs of danger. Before they could react, a group of Apache riders emerged from the trees, their horses galloping with purpose. They bore fierce expressions, and their presence sent a jolt of adrenaline through Caleb. He instinctively tightened his grip on the reins. "Stay calm," Thomas instructed, his demeanor steady. "Let me speak." As the riders approached, Thomas raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I come as a friend. We seek Ayana." The lead rider, a tall and imposing figure, narrowed his eyes. "Why should we trust a stranger?" "Because I am a friend of Ayana," Thomas replied firmly. "She needs help, and this man," he gestured to Caleb, "has risked everything to stand with her people." The Apache warrior studied them, visibly weighing his options. The tension was thick as the air around them crackled with unspoken words. Caleb could feel his heart pounding in his chest, every second feeling stretched as they awaited a response. Finally, the leader nodded insignificantly. "You will have your chance, but know this. Loyalty is not just spoken, it is proven through action." As they were escorted deeper into the Apache camp, Caleb's breath caught in his throat. The sight was awe-inspiring. Apache warriors gathered, vibrant banners billowing in the breeze, children playing, and the smell of cooking fires mingling with the sweet scent of sage. Everything about the camp felt alive, a pulsating heart filled with history and culture. Then he spotted her, Ayana, standing tall among her people, her presence commandingly fierce. With her dark hair flowing like a raven's wing and eyes that held the wisdom of generations, she seemed to embody the strength and resilience of her tribe. Caleb's heart soared and sank simultaneously. She was everything he remembered, and more. "Ayana!" he called, stepping forward despite the presence of watchful eyes. She turned, and for a moment, the world faded away. Their gazes locked, and time stood still. But her expression was guarded, filled with a mix of surprise and wariness. "Caleb." Her voice was soft yet firm, like the whisper of the wind through the pines. "I thought you were gone," he said, the weight of his past mistakes hanging heavy on his shoulders. "I've searched for you." Ayana stepped closer, scanning his face for any trace of deception. "You have little idea of what I have endured, Caleb, but I see you come willingly to our aid after all these years. Why now?" He took a deep breath, vulnerability seeping into his words. "Because I never stopped caring. I made mistakes, but I'm here to help your people, to fight for what is right." She studied him in silence, clearly battling her emotions. The Apache warriors around them remained stiff, waiting for her to respond. "We need warriors who are brave and true," Ayana finally said, "but I must know your heart before I can allow you to stand with us." "I have always admired your strength, Ayana. You have fought fiercely, and I want to stand by your side, no matter the cost. I owe it to you and your people." Her gaze softened momentarily, revealing glimpses of the affection they once shared. "Very well, Caleb. You will have your chance to prove your loyalty, but know this: failure will not be forgiven. If you wish to fight for us, you must be ready to face your greatest fears." A whirlwind of emotions cascaded through Caleb as he nodded. This was his opportunity. But he also understood that he would need to rise to the occasion, no matter the challenges. He could no longer just be the man he once was. He had to become someone worthy of Ayana's trust and the warrior spirit of her people. With Ayana's acceptance, hope surged within him. The journey ahead would demand everything. Yet, for the first time in years, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an ethereal glow over the camp, Caleb knew that his destiny was intertwined with Ayana's, and that together they would forge a path through the wild, risking all for freedom and unity. As night descended over the Apache camp, the firelight flickered, casting long shadows across the faces of warriors gathered around. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as Ayana led Caleb to a designated spot among the flickering flames and the watchful eyes of her people. In this moment of acceptance, Caleb felt both exhilaration and trepidation weighing on him. "The first test is understanding what it means to be Apache," Ayana explained, as they settled by the glowing embers. "You will learn our ways, our rituals. You cannot fight for us without knowing the heart of our people." Caleb nodded, determination setting his jaw. He had willingly embraced challenges before, but now he faced a quest with deeper significance. Ayana began by sharing stories of her ancestors, tales of legends that had fought for their homes, their families, and their honor. Each story ebbed and flowed like the fire's flame, drawing Caleb into a world that was at once foreign and familiar. His memories of Ayana's laughter and the warmth of her presence flooded back, intertwining with her words. As she spoke, he could see the firelight dancing in her eyes, a spark that ignited a longing within him. The Apache way was rich with history, knowledge gained through hardship, and the wisdom of survival. After a few hours, Thomas approached, interrupting Caleb's reverie. "We must prepare for the night watch," he said, gesturing toward the edge of the camp. "Enemies can strike at any moment." Caleb felt a rush of adrenaline. "What's the plan?" "You'll learn quickly if you keep your senses about you," Thomas replied. "The first part is vigilance. We were not just born into this struggle, we were forged by it." Caleb followed Thomas to the perimeter of the camp, where several warriors were stationed, each scanning the darkened landscape. The cool wind whispered through the trees. Around them, nocturnal creatures stirred, captivated by the world of firelight and shadows. "Stay alert," Thomas instructed as they took position. "You'll learn better by watching than by speaking right now." Caleb nodded and focused on the horizon. The stillness felt deceptive, as if danger lingered just beyond sight. He recalled tales of rival tribes, of skirmishes and blood spilled under the moonlight, and the gravity of his newfound purpose settled into his bones. As the hours passed, Caleb's senses sharpened. He learned to pick up on nearby movements, the rustling of leaves and distant animal cries. Every sound carried a weight of meaning. Amongst the huddled groups, he could see Ayana giving commands, her confidence and clarity compelling respect, and he understood why her people trusted her implicitly. At one moment, Thomas turned to Caleb. "Do you see? They respect strength, unity, and loyalty. Those are the pillars we must uphold." Suddenly, a rustle from beyond the camp's boundaries jolted Caleb out of his reverie. Eyes narrowing, he scanned the surrounding shadows, heart pounding. He sensed something shift in the air, a promise of conflict that sent a thrill of fear and adrenaline through him. "Prepare," Thomas commanded, his voice low but urgent. The warriors tightened their grips on their weapons, the collective tension rising like a wave crashing against the shore. Then, without warning, a group of riders burst from the trees, their faces painted in war colors, fierce and determined. Gasps echoed through the camp as the Apache warriors quickly formed a defensive line. "Defend the camp!" Ayanna shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Protect our home!" Caleb felt the blood rush in his ears as he drew his gun instinctively. This was not the time to hesitate. This was his moment to participate in something larger than himself. As chaos erupted into movement, he stepped forward, ready to stand by Ayanna's side. The attackers charged with fierce war cries, but Caleb met their rush head-on, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He ducked, rolled, and fired, finding his rhythm among the Apache warriors, whose movements flowed seamlessly together. Under Ayanna's command, they moved as one unit, each warrior understanding their role, each intent on protecting their land. With each shot, Caleb felt a piece of the past falling away. The weight of his memories began to shift into something more agile, a sense of purpose. Each time he fought alongside Ayanna, he recognized the strength of their bond, a shared understanding forged in the fire of conflict. As the skirmish continued, he caught glimpses of Ayanna moving gracefully through the chaos. She was a force of nature, a whirlwind of strength and speed. The way she commanded respect among the warriors only fueled his resolve. "Together!" she yelled, rallying her people to push the attackers back. The firelight illuminated the battlefield, a violent dance of shadows and light reflecting the fierce struggle. Caleb found himself side by side with Ayanna, their eyes locking for a brief moment that seemed to transcend the chaos. It was a promise that they would fight for one another, for the future they could build together. With one final push, the attackers began to retreat into the woods, their numbers dwindling against the fierce determination of the Apache warriors. The cries of victory filled the night air, echoing across the valley, sending ripples of energy through the camp. As calm returned, Ayanna stood firmly, her eyes piercing through the darkness. "We fought together tonight, and this bond strengthens us all," she proclaimed, pride emanating from her very being. Caleb exhaled, still buzzing from the adrenaline coursing through him. He knew that this was just the beginning. While they had won this battle, the war for survival would continue, and he would stand beside Ayanna, not just to fight, but to protect the legacy of her people. The fire crackled, and under the blanket of stars, Caleb understood that this was his new home, surrounded by strength, resilience, and the flickering promise of a future intertwined with Ayanna's, one that he was ready to embrace. The dawn came softly, its light creeping over the horizon, illuminating the landscape that had borne witness to the night's fierce battle. Tired but resolute, Caleb woke to the sound of birds chirping and the smell of fresh earth. The air was still charged with remnants of adrenaline and the echoes of camaraderie from the night before. As he rose, his muscles ached, reminding him of the ferocity of their fight. He glanced around the camp, noticing the Apache warriors tending to their horses, sharing stories and healing wounds. The spirits of the people were high despite the battle, and Caleb felt a sense of belonging beginning to sprout within him. Ayanna approached, her expression a mix of pride and concern. "You fought bravely last night," she said, her tone conveying both gratitude and a hint of seriousness. "But the danger is far from over. The enemy will come again, and we must be prepared." Caleb nodded. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes," he replied, the resolve in his voice firm. "I will stand with you and your people, Ayanna." She offered him a small smile, one that sparked a warmth in his chest, and for a fleeting moment the weight of their shared past seemed to lift. "Then today we train," she said. "You must learn not just to fight but to understand our ways and the land that supports us." As the sun climbed higher, casting rays of warmth over their camp, Ayanna gathered the warriors, and they formed a circle to demonstrate various techniques that had been passed down through generations. Each movement was deliberate, fluid, and steeped in purpose. Caleb watched intently, noting not just the physicality of the training, but the spirit behind it. He saw respect among them, a unity that transcended words. Later, as they moved to practice with their horses, Caleb found himself growing in confidence. The swift, sure-footed Apache steeds seemed to intuitively understand their riders, responding to even the slightest command. He struggled at first, but with Ayana's patient guidance, he began to find his rhythm. "You have the heart of a warrior," she encouraged as they galloped side by side. "Trust in your instincts." "Just like riding a horse," Caleb chuckled, testing the connection he felt growing between them. "Just takes practice." "Practice is the key to everything," she replied, her eyes sparkling with mirth. As the day wore on, their laughter and shared glances grew more comfortable, deepening a bond forged not only through recent trials, but also from the lengthy history they had shared. Training morphed into spirited banter, and Caleb felt as though he were not just participating, but truly becoming part of the fabric that held this community together. However, amidst the laughter, a shadow passed over Ayana's face, a momentary reminder of the threats that loomed. "I need to prepare our warriors for what comes next," she said, her tone shifting back to seriousness. "The enemy will not relent, and we must gather all our resources." With the sun starting to dip towards the horizon, Caleb's heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. "What do you need from me?" he asked, wanting to contribute meaningfully. Ayana studied him for a moment, gauging what he was ready for. "I need you to help strengthen our defenses. Together we can create a plan that will keep our people safe." Caleb felt the weight of responsibility settle on him, but instead of fear, he found a sense of overwhelming purpose. "Let's do it," he said, a fire igniting in his chest. Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly to fortify their camp. Caleb helped Ayana strategize, laying traps, reinforcing barriers, and assigning roles among the warriors. The Apache, with their extensive knowledge of the land, contributed skills that Caleb found remarkable. He marveled at their ingenuity, and with each passing day, he grew to respect and admire Ayana even more. One evening, as they reviewed their plans by the flickering firelight, Caleb turned to Ayana, his expression earnest. "You've built so much here. Your people are strong because of you." Ayana met his gaze, a flicker of vulnerability crossing her face. "We endure because we must," she replied, her voice softening, "but it's in moments of conflict that true character is revealed." Caleb reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "And I promise to stand by you, to be part of this fight no matter the outcomes." As the days turned to weeks, the Apache camp became more than a refuge. It evolved into a home for Caleb. Every shared meal, every evening spent by the fire, and every moment training alongside the warriors knitted him closer to their lives. He found comfort in their stories, and he shared his own, revealing the layers of loss and hope that filled his heart. Then came the day when the tension in the air thickened. Scouts reported increased movement from rival tribes, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The Apache warriors gathered, poised to defend their way of life. Caleb stood among them, his heart thundering in his chest. Ayana stepped forward, a commanding presence that silenced the crowd. "Today, we stand not just for ourselves, but for our ancestors who fought for this land. We protect our future." Cheers erupted from the warriors as Ayana raised her weapon high. Caleb felt that familiar rush of adrenaline, a unity binding them together. The battle was imminent. They knew the fight would test their limits, but as Caleb glanced at Ayana, standing strong and fierce, he felt an unbreakable determination settle over him. No matter what lay ahead, they would face it together. In that moment, surrounded by the fierce loyalty and strength of the Apache, Caleb understood that he had truly found his place. The vastness of the wild echoed beneath the might of their spirits, and he was ready to fight, to protect, and to connect with the love that had once slipped through his fingers. The Wild West was his battleground, a place of fierce souls intertwined by fate, and together they would make their stand.